It's 7 o'clock.
Hey,
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 how are you?
I'm good, Sophia. How are you? How's it going?
Good, good. I just want to welcome everyone tonight to our ninth town hall. I'm here with my running mate, John Sandler. We're so excited to be with you tonight, and we're really excited to have a special guest. Somerset County Clerk Steve Peter is our special guest tonight. But before we begin, John, how is baby Alice doing?
It's like this is the intro now. She's doing really well. She's doing really well. She turned 7 weeks on yesterday, and she's just cute as can be. She's been a real joy. How's everything on your end, Sophia?
Everything's great. The kids are doing remote learning. One is in school. So we're just managing as best we can and looking forward to November 3rd.
Yeah, I can't believe it's 19 days away. And like Sophia said, this is our ninth live town hall. Kind of hard to believe. It's almost become like a little. We joke. It's like our little talk show. We This is going to be, I think, a 10-part series, and this is number 9. So just when we get comfortable, it'll draw to an end. But it's really been such a great experience, doing the best we can to reach out to as many people in Bernards Township as we can, doing the only way we can these days. So thanks for tuning in. And without further ado, let's welcome Steve Peter.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. I would have to say though that I don't think this is actually going to end. I think it's going to continue on a much larger stage for you.
Yeah, we'll have a new gig after.
That's right. This lawyering thing is going to come to an end for me, and this periodontal thing is going to come to an end for Sophia, and this is going to be it for us.
Sounds good.
So thanks for your time, Steve.
Yeah, tell us how things have been going. You're probably under a lot of stress right now, a lot of responsibility, a lot of people with questions. Give us the lowdown if you can.
Yeah, basically my phone has not stopped ringing at the office. It's been quite a run so far. And for me, it doesn't end on November 3rd. It goes right on through the counting, which is probably going to take us until at least the 20th. So I've still got a ways to go. But the big news is the close of registration was this past Tuesday. So the Board of Elections is processing the last registrations that came in. And as soon as they get everything processed in the system, it comes over to my office and we go ahead and mail out the ballots. So unless you've just recently registered and you are a registered voter, you should have received your ballot. And if you haven't, please give my office a call.
Steve, can you walk us through some of the steps? If I drop my ballot off at the secure drop-off box and on 1 Collier Lane, what happens next? Can you tell our viewers?
Sure. So the first thing that happens is on a daily basis, we have workers from the county that come in and empty the drop boxes. And it's a double lock system. So you're putting it in the top and that part is locked. And then it falls down into another secure lockbox. And when the workers from the county come, they open it up and pull out that inner secure lockbox. So at no point do they have any direct access to the ballots themselves. Once they do that, they bring it back to the county. Everything is then time stamped and the envelopes are slitted open. And then the staff goes through and scans in each of the ballots. If you look at yours before you send it in, you will notice that on your address label, there was a barcode there. And the workers at the Board of Elections can actually take a handheld scanner, just like at the grocery store, and scan that into the system. That's the point at which on the Track My Ballot feature that the state has, it will show up as received. So because of the number of ballots that are coming into the county right now, the board is a little bit behind in their processing of the incoming ballots. Of course, part of their staff has had to do the registrations. So that's also something that now that we're going through the registrations, we can start to catch up on the processing of the ballots. So I would say if you've turned in your ballot to the secure drop box, give it at least a week before it shows up as received it's not out of the question that it might be as much as 10 days.
And for anybody that has any concerns or complaints about voter fraud, what would you say to them?
The instance of voter fraud, in spite of what the president would have you believe, are very, very, very small. You've probably got a better chance of getting struck by lightning than having actual voter fraud occur.
We've got a question from one of our viewers, Fred Douglas, who asked the question about should a ballot that's been received for 2 weeks have transitioned to accepted on, and I believe Fred is talking about when you go to the track your ballot on the website.
Right.
And he's talking about that transition where the indication has been that it's been received, but it's not yet been marked as accepted. How does that work?
Right. That's an unfortunate side effect of the fact that the state took what was an internal system that uses terminology that the boards of election and the clerks are used to and turned it into a public facing site. So accepted is actually when the ballot is counted. So right now, nothing is marked as accepted because it's not legally permitted for the ballots to be counted as of yet. And in fact, I wouldn't even worry about that accepted status because it will, for the most part, occur as a bulk update right after Election Day.
So just as a quick follow-up in terms of counting, I know that Governor Murphy entered an executive order or something that allowed the counties to start counting ballots 10 days in advance, which
That's correct.
My math tells me that's, a little more than 5 days from now. How are you guys ramping up for that process? And what are you doing to make sure that the secrecy is maintained and those that are counting the votes aren't leaking, early results? Because obviously that would be a real issue.
Right. So the first thing to note is that the Board of Elections is the ones who are actually doing the counting of the vote by mail ballots and the provisional ballots. What they do to ensure that nothing gets out once the ballots are scanned through in the early stages is it gets run through the system and then all reports are locked down. So it may be the case that a worker can see a ballot or two, but they're not going to be able to sit there and watch as the ballots get scanned through the machines at a very high rate and keep track of any numbers. So the system is completely locked down from running any ballot reports. So that's how we're going to maintain the secrecy.
Steve, we have another question. How much in-person voting are we expecting in Bernards Township? This question comes from Maureen Lynch. And just to add on to that, can you also give us a breakdown of how many people are putting it in the drop-off box versus mailing it in at this point?
Yeah, I wish I could. Some counties are able to do that, but I have not gotten numbers from the board as to the breakdown incoming versus mail or drop boxes. In terms of in-person voting, there are two things that can happen at the polling place. You can either bring in your completed vote by mail ballot and deposit it in the drop box at the polling place, or you can come in and vote a paper provisional ballot. The estimate that we're getting from polls and from the state is that approximately 40% intend to go to the polls. I don't really believe that. So I would anticipate that you're going to get several hundred votes at the actual polling place on Election Day, but no more than that.
I have just a question that you may or may not be able to answer. You indicated that we may not have certified results until the 20th.
It's guaranteed that we won't.
Right, it's guaranteed that you won't. Is there an outside? I mean, I know that for national level, I think the Electoral College is supposed to vote on December 13th. 14th, excuse me. So is that sort of, you're thinking somewhere between November 20th and December 14th, probably closer to December 14th, I would think?
Well, we by statute, we have to have everything completed the counting has to be completed by November 20th.
Oh, it has to be completed.
It has to be completed by then. It's a hard deadline because of the meeting of the Electoral College.
Are you hiring new additional staff to help?
Yes, there are staff that have been hired for that. We have new high-speed scanners that are going to be used. So I'm optimistic that we can make it by
So
that time.
as candidates.
But yeah, because the ballots can still be received by the board up until November 10th. That's why, I mean, we just cannot complete things any earlier than that. That would be assuming 0 provisional ballots. And we know that that's not going to happen either.
Of course not. As candidates, I just have, do you anticipate releasing periodic updates the way you did during the primaries?
Yes, I'm hoping to. Again, because the board's counting them and then giving me the numbers, I'm somewhat captive to what they provide to me. So I know that they're going to provide me the first set of numbers at 11 o'clock on election night. And I will have them up on my site as soon as we can get them into the system. Further updates, it's unclear as to whether we're going to get them daily, every other day, but stay tuned. I'll get you an update on that.
Thank you. So I think that's about the time we have with you.
I was going to say, I don't think people want to listen to me talk. I think they want to hear the two of you and hear your ideas for the future of the township.
Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us and for enlightening our viewers with your knowledge. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me again. Am I the first 2-time guest?
No.
Sarah Sui has been on twice.
And I believe Joan Harris has been as well. But,
okay. All right.
Maybe we can speak in one more time.
I demand to be on the 10th program so that I can
Got it.
do time.
Right. I'm sure you'll have plenty of time on your hands on the 29th of October.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Steve.
Steve.
See you all later. Bye.
All right. Well, that was really great.
Yeah, that was very informative. So, go ahead.
Sure. I was going to say, I guess we're going to jump right into questions. A question from Pat Sodolak. Her question is, your opponents say that Bernards Township is in great shape financially with some of the lowest tax increases in the state and that Democrats are spenders and will upset the fiscal success. How do we respond to that? I can start if you'd like. I think that one of the things that people need to keep in mind is that while the Township Committee ultimately approves the budget and can make requests in terms of, the way money is allocated, ultimately, it is the paid staff within Bernards Township that creates the budget document itself, which is the administrators, the department heads, and things like that. And those are the folks that put it together. Now, the Township Committee obviously has an opportunity to review it and scrutinize it and adjust it as needed. But, those folks have really been doing a great job, and they should get a lot of credit for the financial position that Bernards Township is in. Now, just because the Township Committee doesn't necessarily write the budget doesn't mean that certain decisions can't lead to excessive spending on, things like excessive litigation, on PR consultants, on engineering studies to study a trickle in the park. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that if Sophia and I win, and I hope we do, the tremendously talented staff members of Bernards Township, they're not going anywhere. And Sophia and I aren't going to run in the door and open the checkbook and start spending excessively. I think that we're going to continue to tap into the wonderful resources that we have and continue fiscal responsibility going forward. Sophia, do you have anything?
You summed it up perfectly.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next question is from Shima Guven. What do you say to those who say you don't have experience and are not qualified for the job as a township? I'm going to continue the rest of it, committee member. So I would push back on that. John and I combined have more experience than probably anybody besides Joan Harris sitting up there right now. For myself, for people who don't know me, just to give you a little background on myself, I graduated from Barnard College, Columbia University. I went on to dental school at SUNY Buffalo and completed a 3-year residency at UMDNJ, which is now Rutgers, for combined 11 years after high school additional education. And I'm a former assistant professor at Rutgers. I am past president of the Tri-County Dental Society, past vice president of the New Jersey Society of Periodontists. I am a former member of the Bernards Township Board of Health. So I served on that committee for several years. And in addition to that, I'm a graduate of Leadership Somerset. I'm also a current member of the Bernards Township Domestic Violence Response Team, as well as being class parent and many other things. And probably most importantly, I am a local small business owner. So I understand how to balance a budget, how to deal with employees, how to deal with staff, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all those things that go into running a business. So to me, that is a lot of experience that would go towards the township committee. And John has equally a tremendous amount of experience. And together, both of us bring wonderful skills to the township committee. And it's also not about everyone having the exact same skill set. We need not just diversity in voices, in people, but diversity in skill sets. So if you have a room full of computer engineers, it's good to throw in a poet every now and then to get a different perspective. You don't want everybody to be exactly alike, so that you have different people bringing different skill sets into the arena.
Absolutely. And maybe next year we'll have a poet run. I think that would be great. I'll just quickly just dovetail off what Sophia said. You know, she obviously is tremendously qualified, and the township would be really, really fortunate to have Sophia Chada on the township committee. And as for myself, I think I also have experience that can really translate well into being a successful member of the governing body. I'm an attorney with 14 years experience. While it's not my complete practice, I do have experience in representing municipalities in land use litigation adverse to developers. And quite frankly, I have experience representing developers in land use litigation adverse to municipalities. I've got a general working understanding of a lot of the municipal land use law. I have a working understanding of the affordable housing platform, so to speak. It's very complicated. I would never suggest that I'm an expert, but I think the fact that, you know, I have real life experience with these things, and I have an understanding of the statutes and the lay of the land, I think that would bring some value to the governing body. And just to respond to this notion that our lack of experience somehow means that we don't have experience on committees and boards in town, I respond to that by saying the reason we don't have this experience is because the folks in power wouldn't give it to us. When I moved to Bernards Township 5 years ago, I made a commitment to become more involved in my local community. And I did what Bernards Township and the governing body says to do. I submitted a resume or an application on behalf of the town. In fact, I did it twice. And a friend of mine who I worked with at the time was on a commission in town. And I expressed with frustration to this person that I had submitted a Tap the Talent application twice. I think I was pretty qualified. He and I seemed similarly qualified. And I asked him sort of what's the secret, and I wondered why I hadn't heard back. And this person chuckled and he said, "John, you're a registered Democrat. They're never going to call you." And that was very striking to me, because that meant that not only was the township committee dominated by single party control, but those same township committee members were making sure that people with similar thought processes and similar ideologies were also occupying seats on all the boards and commissions and committees in town. And frankly, I think single party rule, no matter what party you're on for an extended period of time, is a really dangerous thing, because there's no voice of dissent. There's no requirement that you ever have to justify your decisions. I think it's the interplay between the dissenting voices and voices that don't agree and the ultimate compromise. That's what makes governance really work. And I just don't think we've had that in Bernards Township for the past number of years. And to see Joan Harris on that committee and fighting every single day for what she believes in, I think that's moved the committee in the right direction. And I think with more voices of dissent and more diverse voices and people with different experience, I think that the township is really going to benefit from that.
Beautifully stated, John.
Thank you. Sorry if it went on a little bit there.
So we have another question from Susie Saidi. What will you do differently than the current township committee for existing small businesses that are hurt by COVID-19? Great question, Susie. And I will say that John and I, during the beginning of the pandemic, did our 30-day challenge, whereby we visited as many businesses as we could every day for 30 days to show our support and try to encourage people to visit these businesses. In addition to that, we have proposed creating an economic development commission to bring all players to the table, large businesses and small businesses, to create a strategic plan with immediate short-term and long-term goals. Additionally, we've proposed things like a restaurant week, outdoor dining, outdoor shopping to support our local businesses, which are hurting. They were hurting last year when I visited them, and they're hurting even more now due to COVID-19.
I'll just quickly jump in because that was a great answer, and I think that's a wonderful way to go. I would just note that the existing township committee has done some things in terms of suspending ordinances to make it easier for outdoor dining and things like that. But other than that, I think they've been fairly hands off, and I think that there's more they could do. I don't understand why they don't find a way to have some sort of small business forum or some way to get a number of small business representatives into a room together, socially distant, of course, and ask them, what can we do for you? What can we do to help you? What can we help do to make you thrive and succeed? Because we've seen so many small businesses threatened and fail. I mean, sadly, we had a beloved restaurant in town, Vine, which I enjoyed going to very much. And by all accounts, they were doing really well, and they couldn't weather the storm of the pandemic and what it's done to their business. So I think that the township committee can take immediate steps that they just haven't done. And I think that Sophia and I, come early January, that's going to be one of our first orders of business, is to make sure that our small businesses are getting the support they need without the bureaucratic red tape. So we have another question, and looking at the time, this may be our last question, I'm not sure. From Vandana, it says, nice to see you all. Thank you. Question for Sophia and John. What will your first orders of business be as new township committee members? And I'll let Sophia take the first crack at this one.
So I said earlier, we talked about an economic development commission in terms of what we would implement. That would be my first priority, is to implement that, especially during this time, during the pandemic. That would be a good way to go. And obviously we would do other things like have, office hours, if feasible, things to meet the community so that people get to know us a little bit more personally. Those are just two simple things that we can do. I know, John, you had some other suggestions as far as what we would do when elected.
Sure. Yeah, I think that it's really about approachability. I think that, if Sophia and I win, we're going to pledge to be approachable, and whether that be by office hours, which I think is a great idea. It brings me back to my days of college and law school, trying to track down professors, or even just, a coffee, saying, I'm going to be at this coffee shop, or I'm going to be having a cup of coffee every other Sunday or once a month. And anyone that has any issues that they want to talk, can you come meet me and I'll hear them out. I think that as township committee members, you've got an obligation to the residents of Bernards Township to make yourself available to them, to hear what they have to say. And I just don't know that that's necessarily been what has been done among the township committee in the past. And that's something I look forward to doing as a township committee member. Another thing I've talked about is making public comment at the township committee open again by email. I think that, being able to be heard on the record, that shouldn't be a reward for being able to get out on a Tuesday night. We've got plenty of people that are nervous about their health, that don't want to compromise their health, but at the same time have something they want to say. And the way the system is set up now, that's just not possible. So I think those things, accessibility, transparency, that would promote involvement among our community members are the first things I think that Sophia and I would do if elected.
Sounds good. I guess that's all the questions that we have for tonight, John.
Yeah, I think that's a wrap on Town Hall number 9. I guess we'll just end by saying we've got a couple of more live events coming up. I think we've got to meet the candidates through the Bernards Township Democratic Committee October 20th. We have our final, maybe, who knows, take the show on the road, our final live town hall on October 29th. And if you guys haven't voted yet, please, please, please vote. There are plenty of ways to do it. Go to the secure drop box, drop your ballots in the mail right away. Don't wait. Make sure your vote is counted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Good night, everyone.